Deanna Dixon is doing great things here in Atlanta, and I am glad to have her today. How are you, Deanna? You had dreams of being a singer, and you even auditioned on American Idol. When that door didn't open, I want to know, how did you process that?
Whew, okay. My audition for American Idol happened 20 plus times. I felt like maybe I'm not as good of a singer as I thought.
I know that rideshare driver wasn't in the plan.
No.
However, tell me a little bit about that.
A few months prior to me starting my Uber concert series or my rideshare series, I had just been celebrated by my hometown for performing at the Oscars with Beyonce and the Grammys with John Legend. I'm sure people did talk about me, like, oh my God, you see what she's doing, singing in her car. Like, she went from singing on the Oscar stage to singing in her car to passengers. And I'm sure there were people that laughed at me because of that. They were calling me a hometown hero, and I was like, how can I be a hometown hero if I'm an Uber driver?
Can I ask you to do me a favor?
Yes.
I couldn't have you on here and not sing something.
Oh my God.
Stay tuned. Let's get started. Overlooked. Sometimes things can be unfair. They can be so unfair that at times you can feel overlooked. This is a personal matter to me. I've been overlooked, I've been rejected, but I want to be on a mission to help you to understand your purpose so you never feel overlooked again, that your voice will be heard, and that this will be your season. I am Apostle Dwight Buckner Jr. Tune in. Let's get started. The Overlooked Show. Deanna Dixon turning detours into destinations. She dreamed of becoming a singer and even stepped onto the American Idol stage, hoping for her big break. But when that door didn't open, she didn't give up. She found a new way to be heard. What started as a side hustle behind the wheel became something more, a way to impact lives. Through viral videos and real conversations, she turned everyday rides into moments of inspiration. Now, Deanna, known as a Rideshare Queen, has blossomed. She's an entrepreneur, the founder of Community ATL, a platform that brings people together in ways she never imagined, and a woman who turned rejection into resilience. Today, she's here to talk about her being overlooked, staying persistent, and turning everyday moments into opportunities for something bigger. If you've ever felt like the doors you wanted to walk through just didn't open, this conversation is for you. Because Deanna Dixon didn't wait for a door, she built her own lane. Everybody, I am Apostle Dwight Buckner Jr. here for another episode of Overlooked. We have a tremendous guest today. Deanna Dixon is doing great things here in Atlanta, and I am glad to have her today. How are you, Deanna? Thank you for coming.
I'm amazing.
Amen. Thank you for being here today. Well, I want to get right into it. You had dreams of being a singer, and you even auditioned on American Idol. When that door didn't open, I want to know, how did you process that?
Taking myself back to the doors that were closed multiple times, because the thing that people don't realize is my audition for American Idol happened 20 plus times. There were years where I would audition for the show like in 4 or 5 different cities. And you talk about processing. One thing that I remember, this was before I was really ever exposed to what an audition really was. Right. And that it wasn't defining whether you were good at something or not. But, you know, they're looking for something specific. And I remember I would try to become what I thought they were looking for. I was a transformer back in my day, and I was like, okay, they want this type of sound. This is what they had on the last season. And I just kept transforming into what I think they wanted. And I felt for years like maybe I'm not as good of a singer as I thought. And that rejection penetrated a part of me that is still healing. It's still healing, but it's also, I talk about using your pain for purpose.
Yes.
And that same rejection I felt from being, rejected from that show is what has inspired me to build the entities that I've built. I wanted people to feel like they were enough, that they were worthy, and that they belonged somewhere, whether they were selected for a show or not. And so the way I processed it was not great. Not great.
Did you ever imagine you would find success another way besides, American Idol? I know you want to sing, but did you ever imagine if this doesn't work, then I'll fall back on this?
The only thing that I ever thought I would fall back on was being a hairstylist. I never imagined back then that I would creatively create different outlets to showcase my talents. I always thought it was going to take me being on some big stage and being noticed by a celebrity to be shown to the world or be given an opportunity.
Yes. Wow.
So I'm amazed.
Right. Let's go through some of your journey here. I know that rideshare driver wasn't in the plan.
No.
However, that was a route that you went, and you took that very unusual route, and you began to excel. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, shout out to my passengers. I specifically asked God for something as I was departing from LA and returning back to Atlanta. And there were times I would hear this ringing in my head. I remember I said I wanted to do full-time ministry and be paid to do ministry. And this is why
Go ahead.
Listen, this is why I tell people, you got to be very specific because he's listening. He going to give you what you asked for. But I didn't realize that Uber was going to become an outlet for me to do ministry. And as I was impacting different people's lives, I was equally being impacted. And it wasn't until I met this passenger and our lives sounded so parallel. And I remember I was driving her to the airport and she was telling me her testimony of how she had just moved to this different city to follow this ministry and how lonely it felt and everything that she thought that was going to unfold for her didn't happen that way. And she introduced me to this series that forever changed my life, and I will forever tell this to people. She just told me the title of the series and instantly tears started coming to my eyes. It was Planted, Not Buried. And that freed so much off of me. Wow. And I remember I'm driving her. I'm almost to the Hartsfield Airport and I'm crying so hard. And I'm trying to hold it in because I didn't want her to know. I'm crying so hard that I could barely see. And the light bulb went off like, he planted me here. Jeez. He was fulfilling something I asked him for. And there was something more that was going to come from this. Sure. And that was the beginning of the birthing of, one, I tell people, you have to be grateful of the small things before he blesses you with more. And so that moment changed my attitude about being an Uber driver. I started getting excited about it because I was like, if this young lady introduced me to this new perspective, what more is out there for me? So I treated it like it was like a game of Clue, and all my clues were out here and disguised as passengers, and they were here to send me messages along the way. And I was excited, and it led me to meeting another passenger that forever changed my life, and I will call him my earth angel. Another exchange of testimony. And I remember at the end of the conversation, he's in the backseat in tears, and he's like, you changed my life. And he's like, can I please have your Cash App? Because I really want you to put a dash cam in your car. Because if you're doing what you did with me, you need to share this with the world. And I made a promise to him that I was going to get the dash cam. He blessed me with $150. And after he shared he was going through a hard time. So it was the hardest blessing that I ever received. But I knew that he was going to be blessed in return by me receiving it. And I remember he sent me that money. I ordered the dash cam 3 weeks later. I had it installed, but I was inactive on social media because I was I was embarrassed about where I was in my life.
Wow.
So I was like, now I have to tell people what I'm doing after all of the accolades and these big accomplishments. Now I have to tell them I'm an Uber driver. And so I remember I made my first post sharing that I was driving. And I put it in my story because I was like, okay, it would only last for 24 hours and nobody's going to really see it. Nobody sees my stories.
Right.
And I remember I woke up and I had like so many notifications. I was like, did I get posted in the shade room? What happened? It was all of the responses to what I had shared about me driving Uber.
Wow.
And people were so blessed by it. And I was just like, I got to put this on my news feed. This was before I even came up with a name for what I was doing. I just started sharing it, and it just changed the trajectory of my life as an Uber driver.
Yeah. I think as you shared that, I think what really draws people to you is your authenticity, to be authentic, to be real. And I think that's what people are looking for. You were willing to share the highs of your life, but you're also willing to share some of the quote unquote lows of your life, which turned into great moments, triumphant events in your life. One thing I'm a major fan for is greatness can never be hidden. So even in your positioning of being a rideshare driver, you were still great. God pulls greatness out of unusual places where people don't even really want to look. And so he has a way of causing us to blossom in places nobody would ever look. You mentioned hairdresser. I was a barber for years, had a barber shop for 12 years, 14 years. But I knew I was called to pastor. But I started my ministry in my barber shop. And ministry started helping people, praying for people. I remember there'd be times where I'd be cutting somebody's hair and I have to take them in the back and go pray for them. So it was always ministry around you in what you did. God just took it and began to expand it and put on another level. So just you sharing your journey just so far as a rideshare driver and how God took that and began to blossom that is amazing. Your rejection, I believe, was for your elevation in the season that you're in life right now. Awesome. Let's go here. You started something called Community ATL. Now, I have to admit, I was on TikTok, okay? And I was scrolling through and I saw all of these people in one room singing. Song they were singing was Can We Talk by Tevin Campbell. But the arrangements of the song was so amazing. I said, man, I listened to it for about at least 20, 30 different times. And I said, this is amazing. And I want to find out who was behind getting all these unique voices, all of these creatives, all of these people with ingenuity and creativity in one room and making this sound. And I began to look up you. How did Community ATL get birth?
It's always a valley that comes first, right?
Right.
A few things had to happen before the community could arrive and be born. And I am known for creating communities. I've co-founded things. I started something called the Singers Room over 11 years ago. I started something in Los Angeles called the Only Music Society. So I've been doing community for a long time.
Wow.
But when I came back to Atlanta, I was in pure mommy mode. Like I was trying to make up for what I felt like I took away from it as my mommy role when I was in LA being a full-time singer. And I was like, I'm just going to drive Uber. I'm going to plan everything around her life. And I remember I had a conversation with a close friend, Amber Bullock. And I had just been saying how I'd stopped singing. And she's like, why haven't you been singing? I said, I'm just not inspired to sing anymore. I think I was connecting singing to how I felt about myself as a mother. And I didn't feel proud of myself as a mother. And I was just like, I was equating music to taking me from that role, right? And I said, and then also I don't have a community anymore. And that was another form of inspiration for me, because even being a part of Sunday service choir, I was being paid to be a part of a community, right?
Wow.
And so I had that conversation, and it was this moment that kind of freed like connected something for me that I was like, wow, I'm not singing because I don't have a community, but I still wasn't inspired to build anything. What I am also passionate about is helping promote businesses. So I had a studio, it was a membership-based studio that had reached out to me, and they was like, hey, we know you got all the singers. We just started this concept. We think it's brilliant, but we don't have any singers. We got producers and we have songwriters, but no singers. Would you be willing to host an event for us to attract singers here? And I was like, absolutely. I'm like, taking off my retirement jersey. And I'm like, okay, I'm passionate about doing stuff for others more than for myself. So, so I was like, absolutely.
Yes.
Did the first one. Incredible. Sold out. And after it, we got so many reviews like, this was so necessary. We need that. It was like, we should do another one. And I was like, okay, we'll do another one. Never did I imagine that this was going to be a reoccurring event where now it's every Monday.
Wow.
But it was built off of just really trying to support another business. And I felt God so heavily in that room, and I saw people being healed. I saw myself being healed. I saw people reconnecting to their gifts. And I knew that this was my assignment, and everything leading up to this moment was preparing me for this role in leadership, something I've never aspired to have. I've had people call me a pastor, and I said, I've never wanted that for myself, even though I said I wanted to do ministry meaning like not in a conventional way.
Yeah. And even with that, and people call you pastor sometime, in an unconventional way, they're looking up to you as their leader, a shepherd. I think sometimes we quote unquote just put pastor in a pulpit Sunday morning role.
Yes.
But to them, you are their pastor because you shepherd their gifts, you bring them together, you feed their soul. I'm sure y'all probably pray throughout creating and things of that nature. So they look up to that. And furthermore, you've made a safe place for people in this particular city, and even around the world. You'll travel and tour and do what God's called you to do. But you've created a safe place by where people can come together and sing, use their gifting, and feel loved. And so that's amazing. Through this, I want to ask you. It's very easy to get looked over in the music industry. You can have a voice, you can have talent, and still somebody else get more attention to you. Do you feel like you're in a season now of your life where you're being seen in the sense of, I'm finally getting credit in the area God's called me to? Not so much in a platform where you feel above other people, but you're finally being recognized for the giftings and the creative ability that God placed on the inside of you.
Whew, okay. So, and you acknowledge my authenticity. So I'm going to give you the most honest answer because it's a duality to all of it. A lot of what I do is to put other people before me. And so oftentimes, even with this new venture, a credit has been given to other people. So it's a little bit of both. But I know the people in the room understand that I've created it. But, I've never been afraid to share a stage. But with that comes sometimes being invisible again in something you've built. I had a guest mentor come that he was in what used to be the lead singer of the Spinners and the Four Tops. And he came to my event, and I'm like talking to him, introducing myself, and he kept asking for someone else that he saw in the video. He's like, well, where's this person? I'm like, oh, well, he's not here. I was like, but I'm Deanna, I'm the founder. And he still was just like, not accepting of that I was the one that created it. So there's two things can be true. Yes, I feel seen, and sometimes I also feel very invisible because I've, even in this short period of time, I've had people take this same concept and create their own thing and take me out of it. They wanted it for themselves, where everything I've created with this is all about collaboration and the advancement of people in the room, even more so than myself. So yes and no.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here and come right back to this great conversation with our sister Deanna. It's just a wonderful conversation here. We'll come right back. You said something before break. Someone came up to you and they were just kind of still looking for someone else. They didn't accept the fact that it was you that had birthed this wonderful Community ATL. How did that make you feel when you were in that moment where you're kind of like, hey, in your mind, I'm the one that started, but who you're looking for, it's me. But they wouldn't give you proper credit or wouldn't acknowledge that this came from you.
Couldn't acknowledge. It honestly was laughable. There was a generational gap, and I just believe that something about in his generation, you just didn't see a lot of women in power or leadership.
Yeah.
And I just think he just couldn't accept that, like, I created this. And so he didn't have enough power to make me feel insignificant.
Say it. Woo.
Yeah. So I laughed. I was like, okay, you're looking for someone that I hired and in something I built.
Say it.
So,
Say it. Say it.
So we're going to laugh at that one.
Yeah. I think this brings up something much deeper because in my own life, I'm speaking from my perspective. I've started stuff and started some major things, and I've watched people take some of my concepts and use it for themselves, but never give you credit. But it always happens with people that you've been connected with or close to. And I said that to say, I've had to cut some people off early on in ministry because I say, you know what? They're all about competition. And you want to help, you want to grow with them. The challenge is, oftentimes you're dealing with snakes and people that want to steal your concepts, your ideas, and then run with it like it's theirs. And had they learned, you would have helped them. We could have helped them. But because we live in such an age where it's all about, I'm going to get mine, I'm going to get there before you, or I got this idea, my ideas over yours. Instead of working collectively in the community that you've built together, we can grow. But I want to speak to the aspect of betrayal, because I know this Community ATL thing is really growing. It's taking off. It's going to be in states all around, and even globally in different countries. I'm prophesying over you that it will be. And so how do you handle people that see what you're doing and envy what you're doing in terms of wanting to take what you've done and reduplicate it and not even say thank you for what you've done for them? I know it's a loaded question, but
well, there's what do they say? The steps of mourning or grief. There's many layers to it, and I think my first reaction is just shock and dismay, because my projection is like, I see good in people. I think good of people. I'm very trusting. I'm very open. And so when I'm blindsided by something, it almost takes the wind out of me, because with some of the betrayal that I've experienced personally, I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect it. I would have given any and everything to the people that wanted to take and duplicate outside of me, would have gone to the end of the earth for them. And so it's just the shock, disbelief, and then just, then it's the connecting of the dots and like seeing the signs that you ignored and indicators that like, oh, I ignored that. And then you see the lesson and the blessing in all of it. But it's one of the most painful lessons for someone like me that has built their brands on collaboration. It's like the very thing that I believe in is being attacked. And I'm now understanding all the prayers that were poured into me early on to prepare me to be resilient and to not speak ill of these people or want to take what I feel like they took from me. And I will tell you, I'll be honest, there were people that wanted me to publicly wish them well. And I said, I'm not there yet. I can't wish them well. I can't be inauthentic. But I pray that I will get there.
Yes.
But right now, it's just, you're mourning the loss of two things, of a relationship, of an idea of what you thought that person was. And yeah, I don't wish that upon anyone,
Yeah.
but I am hindsight super grateful because now I know how to protect myself. I'm learning how to protect myself and have hard conversations up front, handle business. I can still trust and collaborate, but there is an order of all things. And I just really feel like God's hand is on that too. He's like, where I'm going to take you, you need to know how to cover yourself. Yes, you can share and you can coach and you can mentor, but you don't have to give away your secret sauce. And really the secret sauce is me. And leaning into that people will take and duplicate when you are a trendsetter. But no one can be me. No one can take what God has given me. They can create what looks like it, and they will. And there's people I don't know that are probably trying to create. I've had people come to me and say, "How can you help me create this for me, for my city?" And the thing is, I'm willing to do that. I am diligently coming up with ways to create chapters that can be run outside of me. So that's probably the most painful part, is that you don't have to take from me because I would give to you. You know, so.
I think, Deanna, I think it's interesting how some people can actually be delivered in your ministry and still try to tear down your ministry. I said that because some time ago I've had, quite some time ago, I had someone tell me, they said, "Do you really think people are being healed and delivered in your ministry?" And this is somebody that I've witnessed being changed and set free. But when people are in competition with you, knowing they've received help and healing from you, everything you do after that point is either you're against them or you're in competition with them or you're fighting them. And the challenge is, when you're really gifted like you are, and you're such a creative and you're such a generous giver, wanting to be behind the scenes and push people and help people, some folks just can't handle the fact that you're such a giver. And the other thing is that some people, and this season, I'm speaking to my life and your life, they're going to realize that you're the blessing. There are some doors that some people will never walk in had you not been connected to them. There are some things that would not have been given to others had you not helped them. And sometimes people can be so focused on receiving from you and growing with you that they start to think that they're the reason why I'm growing, and they don't know it's because of who I'm connected to.
Yeah, and who we're connected to.
Ooh, come on, say it.
Because the anointing, and I can't even take full credit of it.
Yes.
Because it is mind-blowing. You have an idea, and even just once I figured out a month later after I started this, and I went back and I was like, what was the first day we did the event? And I realized it was 11/11. That was a God thing. When I say everything has been perfectly aligned, even the hardship, He has given that to me as just a way to prepare me for these bigger rooms, these bigger stages, these bigger partnerships, bigger collaborations, and gotten those people that were not meant to be on this journey out of it. And it don't always feel good,
right.
but it is good. And I definitely agree with you. The very people that you're trying to bless are trying to
tear you down.
Yeah, and it's just hard for me to understand because I don't think like that.
Yes.
This is just not how I was created. It's not the way my mind works. I'm like, oh, we can do this together.
Right. Yeah.
Let's put our money together.
Right.
And they steal it.
Well, I'll say this. I think we live in a very cutthroat society. Somebody's always looking to come up on somebody else. But genuine people like yourself are just there with a willing hand, willing to help people, willing to help them grow. When did you realize that Community ATL was much bigger than you? Now, I know you're behind the scenes, but when did you realize that this thing is pretty major?
There was an event. It was in December. So like maybe a month after I started it. I had Lawrence Flowers as one of the guest mentors, and then one of my close friends, Tia Skipper. The room was so heavy and so like it was like, if you ever remember those services where you just like left with like the snot running down
yeah.
it was one of those, and I was like, how did I was just trying to figure out, how did I get here?
Yes.
How did saying, hey, let's come together, let's sing, let's play games, let's turn into a tearing service where people were being set free and delivered? Ooh. And I realized in that moment, I said, oh, this has very little to do with me, and it is definitely the most brilliant way to capture the hearts of the creatives, of the unchurched, of worship leaders, and even the demographic that I've drawn into this is like, I would have never said like, oh, this is my target audience. I would have never thought that. I don't consider myself to be a very churchy person. Although I am a minister and have ministry in me, I just never put myself in that box, right? But what I was drawing into me was that people that were unchurched or churched and boxed in and needed to be liberated from the bondage that they feel in their church. And so I was just like, God, I see what you're doing. You're brilliant. And you're using this girl, this everyday girl, you know, with this story filled with hardship, trial, and triumphs, someone willing to put it all out there to tell their testimony, their trials and all that stuff, and tell them like, you can do it again. You are enough. You're worthy. I don't care with anyone. I was the perfect person to reprogram the way that they think about their gift, the way that they think about God, and the way that they expect him to show up. Yes. He can show up in any room that you're in, and he wants to. And it was just like, I laughed at how eager he was to be next to us. Like I said, and the funny thing is we're singing secular music most of the time. And so that freed people too. Like people that felt boxed in by a genre, like, oh, I'm not allowed because I'm a worship leader. I can't sing this type of music and I have to be conservative.
Right.
So yeah, I knew then that it was much bigger than me.
Yeah. And there's a much different anointing on a builder as opposed to somebody, I believe, that walks into something already made. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But when you start from the ground up, there are some things, some tools that you learn that can't really be taught. And I said that because when I graduated years ago from seminary, I had some friends who I was really close with. They walked into these huge churches, already fully staffed, a lot of membership, and they started pastoring. And they started laughing at me because I started from the ground up in my barbershop. No major support, no major sponsorships to say, hey, we'll give you this venue for a year for free because you're building. It's some things that you just learn on the ground level. Yeah. That the experience and the tools you learn are just so valuable. And the crazy part is you'll find people envious and jealous of you because what you built is growing and what they walked into has slowed down. So the question that I want to ask you is, has it been a challenge for you to build this Community ATL? What challenges have you experienced building this?
So, funny enough, the challenges that I experienced building the Community ATL has just come more recently. In the beginning, people would ask me like, oh, this must be overwhelming because of all the people that are now pulling on you. Yeah. Well, I will say that is a challenge. I have learned about myself that I'm not nearly as extroverted as I thought. I was extroverted as a need because of the roles that I was in. Yes. I was in roles where I'm like conducting and creating and like rallying people together. So you have to have a personality that's likable. But me in my natural state, I actually am more introverted than I realized. So, and then for the 2 years I had been back in Atlanta, I wasn't out in the streets at all. Outside of going to church, that was my only thing. And then I'm driving Uber, so I'm not working in an office where I have like friends. I was like not a part of any real community. And so the challenge for me was like, wow, I'm exposed, I'm accessible, and people, even though it's like great what people are pouring into you, it can feel overwhelming. People telling you that you're changing their life. It's like, you don't want to feel that powerful. You don't want to feel that responsible for their healing.
Yes.
And then when they accredit it to you, you feel like, oh my God, like, what if they come back next week and they don't feel good? So that would be one of the challenges. Learning as I grow, because what I'm doing now, I've never done before. I created an online platform for people that wanted to be a member and like glean a little bit more from me. I had to teach myself how to do that. I really, during the pandemic, I was so resistant to anything virtual, Zoom. So I'm like literally teaching myself how to use Zoom because the infrastructure in which my thing is built, I have to use Zoom all the time.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like kicking myself, like, see? So there's tons of challenges because the thing about me is I am not afraid to learn as I go, learn as I grow. So I am failing forward.
Wow.
And I've had some major failures. Not being underprotected, being oversharing, including people and things that maybe I shouldn't have included them on. Building a team, being a leader, when I've never really desired in any of my careers to be in a position of management, leadership. I've never wanted that. And so having hard conversations, making mistakes that hurt people's feelings, and having to rally together a meeting and apologize.
Yes.
And just even talking myself through, like, how do I hold myself accountable? How do I make sure that I take ownership for my wrongdoing? How do I make this right? And I'm not a very confrontational person. So I grew up in a household with a passive dad and a passive aggressive mom. So I didn't experience confrontation.
Got it.
They had two people that never really confronted anything.
Wow.
And then a mom that taught me to turn the other cheek and run if somebody's doing something wrong to me. So I never knew how to face these kind of situations. So I'm being forced into that. I'm having to talk to people about things that are painful. Yeah. And that's a great challenge for someone that runs away from confrontation, right?
Yeah. Well, this is good. We're going to take a break and come right back with our guest, Deanna Dixon. All right, we're back with our guest, Deanna Dixon. We've had a great conversation so far regarding Community ATL and her journey. It's been so good and rich talking to you. I want to ask you this. When you started sharing your videos, did you worry about how people would perceive you?
Which ones? Yes.
The rideshare ones?
The rideshare ones. I absolutely was worried about the perception because a few months prior to me starting my Uber concert series or my rideshare series, I had just been celebrated by my hometown for performing at the Oscars with Beyonce and the Grammys with John Legend. So it was like this big to do, and they were calling me a hometown hero. And I was like, how can I be a hometown hero if I'm an Uber driver? And
come on.
And I really struggled with it because I thought I was going to do it temporarily. And this is before the whole planted, not buried conversation. But I remember asking God, like, why are you humiliating me? Like, why am I here? Like, I didn't understand it. And I thought I would be judged. I thought people would laugh at me because, like, oh, she left LA and she really thought she was going to do something.
But you did.
But I did.
Yeah.
But the other side of it was at least I was proud of the mom that I was becoming and some of the lifestyle changes I had made, with getting my weight back together. I, stopped drinking alcohol, which was there was a big stronghold over my life, like during the pandemic. It's just, So with so many things, you talk about that valley season. There were so many things that happened for my good in that valley that although, yes, I was absolutely concerned about. And I'm sure people did laugh at me. I'm sure people did talk about me. Like, oh my God, you see what she's doing? Singing in her car. Like, she went from singing on the Oscar stage to singing in her car to passengers. And I'm sure there were people that laughed at me because of that. But I was at least proud of myself that I was doing something honorable. I was doing what I could. I was spending more time with my daughter. I was becoming the person I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you do have concerns, but I was feeling good as a human.
Yes.
So that superseded that fear of the perception.
Every video you did while you were doing rideshare was impacting so many people's lives. And so many people were able to see how much joy you had in that car. You took what seemed to be an ordinary profession and made it extraordinary. And when that man sat in your car and spoke in your life and said, get you a camera in here, and you bought that camera and you started singing, and God began to expand you, he made that vehicle your platform. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that people are really having to wrestle with, is the fact that God's blessed you. Mm-hmm. And he took that ride share and he says, you know what, I'm going to expand her borders. And from this, she'll create Community ATL. And from Community ATL, she'll start doing tours. The wonderful thing about your story that I really, really love is that you're helping so many people. So many people. The fact that you have a heart to say, I want to bring people together. I'm not jealous of you. It's not about who can sing the best or do the most runs. Mm-hmm. It's about us coming together, loving on one another, pulling the best out, singing songs, not feeling judged. You created a non-judgmental zone. You've done more. I think you said you've had it for a year, correct? Community
4
ATL.
months.
4 months?
November, if I'm doing my math correctly, November 11th, 2024. Yeah. What do we're in March? Yep. 4 months.
In 4 months, you've had that type of growth mm-hmm. and that type of impact. Mm-hmm. Imagine what the next 4 months will look like. Imagine what the next year will look like. Can I say this to you? I know it ain't quite early, but I want to say this to you. I think that in the months to come, you've already caught the eyes of major people, major execs, major people that can take this and just continue to brand it for you mm-hmm. with your identity flowing through it. But you have a lot of people even right now that are watching you that probably don't want to give you credit because, they just don't want to. And mm-hmm. I think people like me and you that have been overlooked, ostracized, rejected, mm-hmm. doors shut in our face, knowing that we were just as good, if not better, mm-hmm. Knowing that we could have done everything they told us to do. The Lord's hand is on you. And even in this season of your life, he's getting ready to continue to expand your borders. You're going to have a Community ATL, Dallas, Ontario, Canada, Los Angeles, Indiana. There'll be communities in each city. And I even see this thing being global for you. You even go into places like London and places you couldn't even imagine. And when I heard one video, just one,
yeah,
I was mesmerized. I was blown away. I said, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is impacting and changing lives. And I just want to encourage you to keep pushing, keep moving forward in what God's called you to do. And you have one daughter, is it?
I do.
One daughter?
Yep.
Amen. Amen. And she's going to be very instrumental in that as well.
Yes.
So you have a great thing. All your days overlooked, your days of being overlooked, I believe are just about over. There'll still be times where you feel like, man, they don't see me. They don't know what I'm doing. But you're in a season now where God's, he's giving you great exposure. Mm-hmm. And so with your humble heart, just take that and know that God's going to do something great for you. Can I ask you to do me a favor?
Yes. I
couldn't have you on here and not sing something.
Oh my God.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I cannot have you.
I don't want you put on the spot, but I want to put you on the spot. Okay.
I want you to just bless us with something mm-hmm. That comes to mind. I want you to sing something for us. Mm-hmm. And I want, as you sing, your voice is going to resonate, continue to resonate throughout the globe. And your Community ATL, everything you do is going to continue to expand. Can you sing something for us?
Yes, and I have not sang this song in so long, so give me the words, Lord. But this song just feels even relevant to now. But God has so much in store for those whom he loves, those who seek to do his will. He abides with them still. The way may grow dark and dreary, and seemingly the Lord's not here. But don't give up. Still, you've only experienced some. Still, the best is yet to come.
My goodness.
You caught me by surprise with that one.
Woo, listen, this has been another episode of Overlooked. My goodness, let that song resonate through your spirit for the rest of the month from our beautiful sister, Deanna Dixon and Community ATL. Thank you for tuning in again for Overlooked. God bless you. We love you. We'll see you again. Wonderful job. See you soon.